Hello, guys, and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream Star Fighting. Marigold, I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, Mr. Matt Turner. Mr. Matt Turner, it is the day after Thanksgiving. Are you still stuffed with food? Because I saw a picture of Amber's cooking, and I felt like I'd put on about 3 stone.
That was her famous. She makes it every year. Her famous mashed sweet potatoes, and sweet potatoes, if you know your health food, is the king of all root vegetables. Easy for me to say. Loaded in beta carotene, antioxidants. I mean, sweet potatoes are really, really good for you. However, my wife does put about 2 sticks of butter and a whole bunch of brown sugar on top, so it makes it makes it extra tasty. So Thanksgiving was great, but I'm not gonna lie, as we're recording this, it's almost lunchtime, so as soon as we're done, I'm gonna eat again because for some reason I'm still hungry, because not only did I eat a whole bunch of turkey, not only did I eat a huge helping of my wife's fantastic mashed sweet potatoes, broccoli casserole, green beans, salad, not one, not two, but 3 different desserts I had, Rob Goodwin. 3 different desserts, yes. As we made the trek back to my hometown of Old Forge, Pennsylvania, we had some pumpkin pie, and then my mom made pumpkin pie, she always makes that, which is great. And Amber made homemade stuffed cream puffs with vanilla pudding in the middle. And then she made this unbelievable apple cheesecake like bar that was just out of this world. It was just so good. So I had one of each because why not? And then for some reason it's like I'm ready to eat as soon as we're done with this podcast. Maybe it's because I was sick the other day and lost 3 pounds, and I'm trying to put that weight back on. Maybe that's what it is.
That is what it is. A good job bulking season and Thanksgiving season all sort of merge into one. I imagine that's something that you've done on purpose.
Sure, absolutely. See, you know my game. You know my game, brother. But before we get into everything with how you're doing, I do want to discuss something we were texting about yesterday, and I stopped texting because I said this is going to make for good podcast material. I want to talk briefly about Hot Frosty. Just real briefly. Now, for those of you who don't listen to the Stardom cast, that only hold on, let me get into it. That only get into the Marigold Standard. So Rob and Kirsty about a week or so ago watched this film. I'm doing air quotation for people in the audio. Film called Hot Frosty, and it's become a running joke. Now, Rob has said it's not going to become a thing, Matt. It's not going to become a thing. However, when we recorded the Stardom cast just the other day, Rob put in the description box that he called himself Hot Frosty. So currently, not only is it a thing, but the other day, actually, as soon as we got done recording the Stardom cast, I went downstairs and I was going to watch an episode of Queen of Villains, which I'm halfway through. It's fantastic. I'm at the part where she finally turns into Dump Matsumoto and is just bludgeoning people left and right. But anywho, before I started, I was like, I just want to read the description on this Hot Frosty. So I click on the thing and they give you the little paragraph, and I'm like, oh my God, it stars Lacey Chabert from Mean Girls. Now,
it does, yes.
Now, let me back up just a minute or two. The last 6 or 7 years around Christmas time, when me and Amber are done with what we need to do at the end of the day, we sit on our couch and we get our TV time. During Christmas season, we go and watch the bad Hallmark Christmas movies. You know, those movies that in 10, 15 minutes, you know what's going to happen, but you don't care. Now, I've noticed, Mr. Rob Goodwin and our fantastic listeners of the Marigold Standard, over the last 6 or 7 years, the same female role is in the same female lead is the same person. A handful of years ago, I forget her name, but it was the girl that played Winnie Cooper in The Wonder Years. 3 or 4 years ago, it was Candace Cameron, who was DJ Tanner in Full House. The last year or two, the main female role in these movies, these Hallmark movies, Rob Goodwin, you want to take a guess who the new hot female lead is in these Hallmark Christmas movies?
Is it Nicole Kidman?
I thought you were going to say Fuki in Death.
Genuinely, I was that close.
It is one Lacey Chabert. So I was like, oh my God, now I need, because it's Christmas. It's her.
No.
I think I need to watch this. I think now this
You
is something that not only that, but when I noticed they said it was number 5 trending on Netflix, and all of Netflix, this movie is trending number 5.
That
So
means nothing. That means nothing.
So I think Hot Frosty might be on the watch list when the wife comes back from shopping. It is Black Friday as we're recording this, so I don't know what is going to happen when my wife comes home, other than she probably spent a boatload of money and might be watching some Hot Frosty tonight. Rob, we shall see.
My God! Yeah, Amber comes back from headbutting people out of the way for deals in Black Friday. Oh my God, she doesn't need that in her life. Right, just because something is trending does not mean it was good. Okay,
true. Put that on a t-shirt. Put that on a t-shirt.
Metallica and Lou Reed's album at one point was sort of trending, and that was crap. So I disagree with your sentiment. I don't care if it's the highest streaming film or whatever the hell it is.
Anyway,
Stop
buddy,
trying to make fetch happen, Matt.
Which it does come from Mean Girls,
which
Lacey Chabert was. You played Gretchen Wieners. Great name, by the way. Gretchen Wieners.
Great. You are in your young 40s. You are laughing at the word wiener.
Yeah. I'm still my Beavis and Butthead face when I was like 14, 15. Never grew out of it, buddy. Never grew out of it. But anywho, how's everything with you, brother?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. It's now obviously the weekend. We're recording this on Friday, and it's going to be hopefully a relatively warmer weekend, he says. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going out, playing some football, watching football tomorrow, where hopefully the team that I go and see will win, but I'm not overly excited, not overly, what's the word I'm looking for? Enthusiastic about that. The game I missed on Tuesday apparently was absolutely awful. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I am looking forward to talking about a little bit of Marigold in, Matt, what might be, and obviously you guys will know before me and Matt do, which is weird. This might be the shortest Marigold Standard in history, because currently there is only one show to review, and that is the Winter Wonderful Fight Night 2 from Utsunomiya and Tochigi, because the show from the 28th isn't dropping on Wrestle Universe until tomorrow. So we'll have to incorporate that into next week's show. However, there is a bit of news that came out of the show from the 28th, so I am going to drop that into the news segment, but I will forewarn anyone that doesn't want it spoiled. So I'll give you fair warning before we go into that. So just a little bit of a recap today. We are literally going through news, one show, Gaze at Julia, home for tea. That's literally our runtime today. So hopefully you weren't expecting a long one. Sorry, Colin. But there we are. We can only pad with hot frosty patter for so long.
However, if you do want some more stuff with me and Rob just talking about Stardom or Joshi or Marigold, if you're on the Patreon, there's literally one episode every day for 9 or 10 days. So there you go. There you go.
Absolutely. Head on over patreon.com/the Stardomcast. Right, let's kick into some news. And there's something I wanted to bring up, because I saw this not long ago, and I can't remember if you reported on it or not. But Marigold have announced every single Korakuen Hall show that they are going to be running through 2025. It does equate, I think, to one a month. Yes, so there aren't any double ups. Whereas there has been some double ups this year. I think there was 2 in October, for example. Here we have just one a month. Now those are January 19th, which will be the first stream. Korakuen Hall show. Try saying that 3 times fast. February 20th, March 30th, April 25th, May 4th, Star Wars Day. Love that. Excellent. June 17th, Kirsty's birthday. July 16th, August 30th, September 14th. I imagine that might be the Dream Star Grand Prix Korakuen. Then it's October the 13th, November the 17th, and December 27th. So those are your 12 Korakuen Hall shows, or at least 12 that are announced currently. Now, the reason that I bring this up is because they've opened what is called a Korakuen Hall 2025 season ticket,
Ooh,
where
smart,
you
smart.
can effectively purchase a seat for every single one of these shows. And as it says here, you will get the same seat for each of these shows. Special pass, early entry. Apparently, there's also one more perk in the works as well. And you can purchase those from today, November the 29th, all the way through to December 2nd. That's the advance application. General registration happens from December 5th to December 8th. And the payment deadline is New Year's Eve, Tuesday, December the 31st. Now, there is a couple of things I want to talk about there, because we see this in quite a lot of other sports where you can purchase a season ticket. For example, I have got my season ticket to Stoke City there, okay, and it guarantees me the same seat every single home game that I want to go and see. Now, with a wrestling company, you don't see this very often because they are, by their very nature, especially in Japan, a touring company. Now, there's obviously some real positives here. Okay, you're going to get buzz. You're going to bring in a lot of people who want to go to every Korakuen Hall show. I feel like this is a good way as well to get advance money into the company as well. What I wanted to ask you, Matt, is sort of, and this is something that Velkage, who on Twitter brought this back into my attention, sort of long-term versus short-term of this idea, because again, we haven't really seen this from a company before, at least recently. So the short-term versus the long-term, what are your thoughts on this as a concept?
We actually did see it about almost 30 years ago. It was called Club ECW, where if you were part of Club ECW, and especially in the ECW, because the ECW arena was the Korakuen Hall, they would run it once or twice a month. That was their big shows. And then once you got to 97 up until the closing, then they would run your pay-per-views, but still very much like how Marigold and Stardom, back in the day, they would always have Korakuen Hall once a month, and it was something special. And I had no idea that this was a thing until you just said it. That was the first thing that popped in my mind, was Club ECW. And if you remember from those ECW arena shows from 96 up until the close, you would have the same people in the same seats. You had the hat guy, you're the guy like Howard Stern. My buddy Joe was always in the same seats in the bleachers. So it's a great idea because you get familiar with fans very much like you did in ECW. The wrestlers are going to get familiar with fans. The fans will get more familiar with wrestlers. And the fact that this is going to be on purchase during the holiday season. Come on, Rob. This is a great Christmas gift idea for the ultimate Marigold fan that wants to go to every Korakuen show. And they've already have a handful of shows that they've done since Marigold started back in the spring. I think it's a great idea. You're absolutely right. You're already going to get added revenue into the company before 2025 hits. I think maybe they should extend it a little, maybe expand it into January, February, depending on how many club seats that they do. But I think this is a great idea. You're absolutely right. We see it all the time in sports. You mentioned that you have your season ticket passes, and it's the same seat. This is a great idea. Again, I saw ECW do this in the 90s, and it worked really, really well for them. And it's something really cool, and it creates a lot of buzz with the fans. So I think this is a great, great thing. And again, considering the fact that I haven't heard of a wrestling company do this in almost 30 years, I think it's genius.
Yeah, it's certainly a novel concept, and I think it is a good idea, certainly. My only drawback to something like this, and this is something I've witnessed firsthand, is if that person can't attend a certain match, for example, if we're using football or soccer for our American listeners as an example here, if they can't come, that seat stays empty. Now, you do run a risk unless they be Marigold, are going to do something where if a seat is available, or that a season ticket holder is not going to be able to go to that show, you then resell that seat. That's something that I know that a lot of football clubs do to try and combat empty seats. If you know that, seat 25B isn't going to be there for Stoke versus Burnley, Okay, they put that ticket back on general sale so that someone else can get that seat, so that you haven't got that bad optic of empty seats. Now, obviously, the longer the year goes on, there is a chance that, whether it's through illness, work, simply not being bothered, there is that chance that you are going to have some seats that, because they've been bought by a season ticket holder who can only go to 7, say, of the 12 Korakuens, you've then got an empty seat there for 5 shows. And especially as Korakuens are Marigold's bread and butter, that is sort of where big things happen, with the exception of Shinjuku Face, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on in December. But I think that's more out of necessity with Sari and Nanae. But that's something that's a risk that I feel like Marigold will have taken into account before announcing this. Again, I agree with you. I think it's a really cool concept. I think it's a really good present going into the holidays. However, as there is with season tickets in any sport, there is a drawback when it comes to sort of effectively pre-booking those seats and then not being able to attend. So I wonder if Marigold have a fail-safe in place just in case that does happen. You know, I don't know whether they'll say, right, if you're not going to be able to make the show, let us know so that we can then resell that seat.
Now, Rob, I mean, what happens in your case? You have that season tickets to Stoke football. Can you, if you can't make it, can you give it to your brother? Can you give it to Kirsty? Can you give it to your dad? Can you give it to your neighbor?
Yeah.
Can you give it to somebody? So it just, all they have to do is just have that pass.
Just scan it. Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be an idea of like, you don't look like Rob Goodwin. I'm like, who does? Look at his face, right? It's so kawaii. But
just do the mile of grace. There we go.
Yes, I was just curious on how that works. Well, then, I mean, obviously you can have different scenarios that come up. You never know when you're going to get sick. You know what I mean? You never know when you might have an emergency where you can't go to that. So it's a simple, probably send an email. I'm sure that's probably once you get the, the form of like, hey, here's all your seats. You're sitting in, row 1 seat, section A, seat 4, or whatever. If you have an issue, send this email out. So I'm sure there's a certain way they can work out. It's 2024. We'll be 2025 by the time this thing pops out. The way technology moves so fast that I'm sure if there's a situation where somebody can't make it, they can either resell that ticket, or again, hey, if so-and-so can't make it, hey, I got sick, try to give the ticket to somebody else. So I think there's certain situations where it's a case by case basis. But again, I think this is great. This is, and they've already said we're going to do 12 Korakuens. So essentially you're paying for a ticket for 12 Korakuens in advance. And I'm sure because you're buying in bulk that they're going to get a discounted value. So say it's Korakuen Hall ticket is $20.
I imagine so, yeah.
I'm just using an example. Say Korakuen Hall, it's $20 per ticket. Instead of paying 12 times, they're going to pay maybe 12 times. So then they're going to be saving themselves $60, in the long run. Again, I'm just using that for simple math. So yeah, again, I'm sure it's a case by case basis. I'm sure once the emails go out and the communication goes out, I'm sure there's going to be an email address for the purchasers to be able to email somebody in case there's an emergency. Or again, if they can't make it, they can probably give their ticket to a friend, very much like how you can do.
Yeah. So just sort of piggybacking on what you've just said there about the tickets. So seats S, A, and B. Okay, they're the sheets that are available in Korakuen Hall. Now, obviously, as someone who is not familiar with the layout of Korakuen Hall, I don't necessarily know what that means. I assume that they are bleachers, the arena seats, and then I don't know. That I'm assuming that's what they are. Anyway, so the S sheet or the S seats, sorry, are 20,000 yen. The A seats are 12,000 yen and the B seats are 8,000 yen. So those cheapest ones are $53 per head. Now, if you are to do that, so 53 times 12, this is where it would be so good if I was good at maths, but I'm not. You're looking at $636 for 12 Korakuen Hall shows. Now, I don't know if that value is what a Korakuen usually goes for or what Marigold have been charging Korakuen Hall tickets for. But again, I do like it as a concept. I've always liked season tickets as a concept. It is cheaper so if you're especially if you are someone that goes to all the Korakuen Halls anyway, it makes sense for you to purchase this package.
100%.
Plus, for Marigold, it's a guaranteed seat then for every single show. Whether, when it comes to attendances, obviously, I don't know whether they will then count as a head count or whether they will count season ticket holders, whether they're there or not, and then a head count. Because I know that some of the football stadiums do that to sort of inflate attendances. And obviously, wrestling is a sport where a little bit tongue in cheek when it comes to attendances, let's say.
Rob, it's all a work anyway, so we may as well work
true.
may as well work the
Absolutely.
attendance numbers. 100,000 people in Korakuen all hanging from the rafters, sold out. Me working on top, brother. Should have seen it. Couldn't put another person in there with a crowbar, brother.
Can't wait for WrestleMania 41, where the attendance is 83 million people. But yes, so I thought that was a really, really interesting thing. And sort of it does raise a really interesting debate, because it's a debate that, you know, is in every single sport when it comes to season tickets against value, and how many times you're going to go. You know, if I lived in Tokyo, I would purchase this package because I would go out of my way to go to every Korakuen Hall show. And if it gives me any sort of discount, then it gives me an incentive to go to all of these Korakuen Hall shows. And then obviously it's that word of mouth thing that you were talking about before, Matt, about how you can really get people through those doors. And obviously Korakuen Hall is the first place Marigold I want to really going to want to get that attendance up. I feel at the moment you are looking for Marigold, and I said this when we did our Frankenstein episode. I think Marigold are sort of aiming between 700 and 800 people. I imagine that's their ballpark when it comes to Korakuen at the moment. You know, obviously next year is the first full year of Marigold's existence. We assume it's going to be Utsunomiya Hayashishita on top of the company, so we're going to see more of the red belt because she's on every show. It's going to be interesting to see how those Korakuen Hall attendances react. And obviously we'll be podcasting about it. So
every single one, folks. Every single one. Where Hot Frosty may be going away after the season, the Marigold Standard sure will not be.
So nearly swore.
Sure
so nearly swore. A little bit of Stardom news before we go into some card announcements. We talked on the Stardom cast literally 2 days ago about how Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa were sort of set on a collision course after Mariah May turned on Mina for during Full Gear. We thought that it would probably happen at World's End or Dynamite Winter is coming. It turns out that it is going to happen in 2 weeks' time. Wednesday, December 11th, Dynamite Winter is coming. Mariah May taking on Mina Shirakawa. Now, this is obviously great for Mina. It'll be a second attempt at the AEW Women's World Championship. But more than that, as a Stardom fan, it does mean that she is available to work Dream Queendom, which personally for me is far more important.
Yeah, we were kind of volleying that back and forth, and we're like, well, if it's World's End is the day before, so that is not going to happen, you know, not unless she has the DeLorean and can travel through time. So that wasn't going to happen. We were that match deserved to be on a big pay-per-view, but again, at the same time, as Stardom fans first before AEW, and again, we both love AEW, that we want Mina to be on Dream Queendom because the tickets are selling really, really hot. Mina is a really hot item because, again, she's been great for the last 2 years, but then you put in the fact that she's getting more eyes on her over at AEW. You want her on your big Sumo Hall show. So I'm sure that was a deal that Stardom and AEW probably worked out beforehand, was like, no, even though she's not in tournament season this year because of her going back and forth between the United States and Japan, we definitely need her for this big show. It is very important that she's on this big show. And I'm going to throw this question at you with the information we now know, because I threw this question at Karen Peterson a week ago when I talked to her on our roundtable discussion, which will be coming out this weekend. Our Kyrie roundtable discussion. We started discussing this, and now we have more information. So now I'm just going to volley it to you, partner. And again, about 2 weeks ago, I mentioned I think they're going to do Mina and Mercedes at Dream Queendom, because you have Mercedes and Hazuki coming up in 2 weeks at Strong Style Evolved in California, and Mina's on that show as well. So I think that's where the challenge is going to be. Mercedes wants to wrestle in Japan. She wants to wrestle in Stardom again, and she wants to wrestle Mina, and Mina's the same thing. It's a big show to do it. Mercedes is probably going to be over there anyway, because more than likely she's going to be wrestling at the Tokyo Dome show on the 5th of January. So I made mention this to Karen, and Karen said, I don't think Mina is going to eat 2 losses back to back, losing to Mariah May and losing to Mercedes Moné. And I was like, yeah, I kind of get that. But with the information we know now, it's like, I don't think she's defeating Mariah May. I don't think Mariah May's dropping that belt until the Toni Storm comes back and they do that match probably at Grand Slam in Toni Storm's home country. But at the same time, Mina Shirakawa losing to Mariah May, who's absolutely crushing in AEW. I mean, she's been great since she's been there, but these last handful of months, she is hitting home run after home run. Not going to hurt her if she loses to Mariah May. Not going to hurt her at all if she loses to Mercedes Moné. Do you still think that's the way they go with Mina eating 2 losses? Because I don't think her losing to two big stars like Mariah May and especially Mercedes Moné is going to hurt her partner. Again, I just want to volley that to you. Now, with the information we know now, because now that is a real opportunity for Mina Shirakawa to have 2 really, really big matches in the month of December.
I just want her to do something. And I mean something meaningful. Now, if she is just going to go onto the Dream Queendom card and be on a throwaway tag, then you could argue what's the point? She might as well have been on World's End. However, if she is going to be, I don't know, whether she's going to be wrestling Mercedes Moné in what is effectively a special attraction match, or she is putting someone over, for example, in a singles match. So whether that's, someone like, I don't know, just off the top of my head, Hannon. I don't know. I'm just putting, or Asaya Rida or something like that, putting someone over sort of, because I think we're of the opinion that Mina Shirakawa is probably going to be going to AEW once her contract's out. That's where it seems to be leading. Obviously, that's purely speculative, but having missed both the 5-star and the Goddesses of Stardom tag league this year, it does seem like Tony Khan and AEW are very hot on Mina, and as are the US audiences. So I do wonder if she is out of the door once her contract expires. If that's the case, I would like to see her put someone over, have a really, really, really good singles match against someone lower middle of the card, and then sort of make them look really, really good. That's ideally what I would do. Miyu Amasaki, maybe?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, if she's going to go again, and we mentioned this before a couple weeks ago, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but even if she does go to AEW, they do have that working relationship with Stardom. So it won't be like the last time we see Mina. It'll just be fewer and far between. But if Mina does go to AEW once her contract is up in the spring of next year, I just think they just copy and paste they did with Utami, and she just does business that way. She's having great matches, putting people over, excellent matches where she's just elevating talent on her way out. Because that, to me, what Utami did earlier this year on her way to Marigold is the perfect way to do business. I mean, you couldn't have done business any more unselfishly than Utami did. And she made everybody look good, to Hanan, to Saida, to Momo Watanabe, to Micah, and that phenomenal match from the finals of the Cinderella tournament. Just the perfect, Suzu and May Sarah for Crazy Star when they dropped the tag belts. But that would be the way to go to do business. But regardless, I'm with you. I want her to do something meaningful because
I like that. Meaningful. I like that.
I didn't even mean to do that. I was holding his knees. Meaningful. That's a new thing there.
And you didn't even mean her to do it. That one's for you guys.
Are you happy, sad, or Mina about it?
Look. I think we need to stop. I think we just need to stop the podcast.
Anyway.
How do we even top it?
Anyway, so but no, if they're gonna put her where it's gonna be like Rianne, Waka, and Mina versus like 3 members of Hate, and underneath them, yeah, exactly right. Like, what's the point? You may as well just left her on the World's End pay-per-view and just had her there to help draw tickets that way. Again, it's your big show at the end of the year. This is where she needs to be in some sort of big match. And I think that, again, maybe I'm just grasping for straws, but to me, it looks like that Mercedes Moné match is set up perfectly. All the stars seem to be aligning. There's only 2 matches on that Strong Style Evolve card. We know that we usually see when there's Stardom representation over the United States on these New Japan shows, that after there's a successful title defense, we've seen it with Mayu, we've seen it with Mercedes before, that whoever is in one of those underneath tag matches, they wind up getting a title shot. And Mina's in an underneath, match. That's a great way to end that show after, because it's Mercedes and Hazuki is the announced main event. Obviously, card subject to change, but that's going to be an awesome match. That's going to be an absolutely amazing, amazing match. Mercedes and Hazuki, after they tear the house down. What a great way to end that card for Mina to come out to challenge for that belt, for them to say, hey, I challenge you in 2 weeks at Dream Queendom. My guest commentary for the show on the 15th is going to be Walker Stewart. We know that Walker Stewart is going to be doing commentary for Dream Queendom. You have the English commentary laid out right there. And folks, we're going to be there in 2 weeks. And also on the card is this, and this. Boom. There's your commercial, folks. There's your commercial.
I can't disagree with you. It does seem like the stars were aligning for a Mercedes Moné and Mina Shirakawa. And ultimately, you look at that card and where they are heading with that card. You have got the red belt pictures all sewn up. You've got the white belt picture, that's all sewn up. The Goddess of Stardom championships are all sewn up because we assume it's going to be Hate versus the winners of the tag league. You have got the artist belts, which Mina's only just held. Which won't be defended because Tam and Natsupoi are the Artist of Stardom champions unless they drop them in the next month or so. High Speed Championship, I can't see Mina really challenging for the High Speed title. So that does leave effectively either the IWGP Women's, which she's already challenged for, and we already know Mayu isn't going to be doing that at Dream Queendom because she's wrestling Azubi at Wrestle Kingdom, or the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Obviously, if it's a choice between wrestling Mercedes Moné and what is a big Moné match,
you're on fire! You're on fire, and he means about it. He means about it.
Honestly, mate, it's a curse being this good with words. What's even happening? But yeah, I'd much rather that, especially for a Western audience. I'm thinking almost primarily for a Western audience here. You put Mercedes Moné on that pay-per-view, then obviously it's going to get more Western eyes. Mina Shirakawa is the perfect bridge for that as well. I will repeat, the worst thing you can do is just throw her on an undercard 6-woman tag where it looks like she means nothing. So I'm going to stop now. We do this podcast primarily to make ourselves laugh, by the way, guys. Like, you might just be going, get to the Marigold. We will, but we do enjoy just making ourselves laugh. So, yes, obviously, we'll have more information regarding that once both AEW Winter is coming, which is, like I say, on the 11th of December, and Strong Style Evolved, which is the following Saturday on the 15th of December. We'll have more information following that, where we will also probably have a more concrete card for Dream Queendom as a whole. Moving on to a little bit more Marigold news. So this is the bit you might want to fast forward if you don't want spoilers from the show from the 28th, by the way. So fast forward about 30 seconds. Victoria Yuzuki, as we predicted, Mr. Matt Turner, has made an official challenge for the Superfly Championship, and it does look like it's going to take place at First Dream. So that updated First Dream card looks like this. Utami Hayashishita versus either Sari or Nanae Tagashi. I think we all assume it's going to be Sari for the Marigold World Championship. We have got Mai Sakurai versus Miko Aono for the United National Championship. We have got Koki Amare versus Chika Goto for the GHC Women's Championship. And then we have also now got Victoria Yuzuki versus Natsumi Shozuki for the Superfly Championship. This is stacking up to be a very, very solid card. And when you consider that Mirai is not doing anything at the moment, though I have seen some people, I think it might have been in our Discord actually, that said Mirai would be the perfect opponent for Sari Yamaoka for her debut match. Maybe that's who she faces, because obviously we saw that with Kamoma Minami. She faced Mirai in her first match, so maybe it'll be Sari Yamaoka, especially as Marigold are very, very hot on this new 17-year-old rookie. But yeah, so we've got nothing for her. We've got nothing for Misamatsu yet, obviously. There's quite a few people. Nothing for Bozilla as well. So lots of things to be getting on with, but that card is shaping up nicely, Matt.
Yeah, it's looking really good. And again, I'm going to do a little dream booking. Nothing for Mirai. However, Papa Triple H did tell his talent that they can all go home for the holidays, meaning one Kyrie would be in Japan and maybe available for that show. I'm just saying that's a little farther stretch than Mercedes and Mina. However, that'd be a good match,
Just a
my
bit.
man. Yeah, that'd be. I'm just
It
saying.
would be. It would
I'm
be.
just saying. Even the card, regardless of what else, how else the rest of the card fleshes out, that card is looking really, really good with those four championship matches. And then you're absolutely right. Nothing with Bozilla. Nothing really for Naomi Ishikawa, who's somebody she's really hot. Maybe they do now and Nane there, and that's where Now gets her big win. That's a possibility. I mean, the card just on those four matches alone is going to be one of the best cards they've done in their short history. So yeah, really looking forward to it. And I got to give credit where credit's due. You just mentioned a minute ago we predicted that Yuzuki would be that wasn't me, buddy. That was you. That was you. That was all you. 100% with you. I disagreed with you, like I usually do, but good call on that Yuzuki would be the next challenger for Natsume Shozuki's Super Flyweight Championship, considering the fact they had a banger of a time limit draw back a few months ago. So I'm glad, in Cork, and I'm glad that they're redoing that one, because I know that was a match that we loved, and we were just like, oh, we wish we'd have just saw a winner. This is Rossy Ogawa booking 101. I'm like, oh, how do we not see this? Here it is, the big show to start the year. So super excited. Yeah, those four matches are going to be absolutely fantastic, and it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to flush out the rest of the card on these upcoming shows that Marigold's doing.
Just a word on Chika Goto as well. It was announced on the 28th that she is returning from injury. She is going to be on the Shinjuku face card on the 13th of December. That, of course, is when Nanae will face Sari for the World Championship. So great to see Chika Goto making her return from that sternum injury. We've also got another match for that card, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. The Winter Wonderful Fight Tour carries on with nights 4 and 5 on December 7 and 8th in Osaka and in Aichi. Marigold have announced those full cards. So the Winter Wonderful Fight night, fight night, that's UFC. Winter Wonderful Fight 2024 Night 4 comes from Osaka 176 box, which is a venue that Marigold have run quite often in their short history. That is Saturday, the 7th of December, and this is the card. Bozilla versus Victoria Yuzuki. Misa Matsui versus Kazuna Tanaka versus Komomo Minami. It does see the return of Marigold Standard favorite Flying Penguin. She's going to be teaming with Hummingbird in the first bird-based tag team against Naho Yamada and Ria Sato. Utami Hayashishita and Naoshi Kawa versus Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. And then the main event for that show is currently scheduled to be Koki Amare, Miko Aono, and Natsumi Shozuki versus Mirai, Mai Sakurai, and Myla Grace. Night 5 then is in Taharu City General Gymnasium in Aichi. This will obviously be the first time that Marigold have run that venue. Bozilla versus Nao Ishikawa. Natsumi Shozuki versus Kazuna Tanaka. Victoria Yuzuki and Komomo Minami. No, it's not. It's Victoria Yuzuki and Komomo Minami versus Hummingbird and Ria Sato. Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki versus Miko Aono and Naho Yamada. And then in that main event, Utami Hayashishita, Koki Amare, and Misa Matsui versus Mirai, Mai Sakurai, and Myla Grace. So 2 solid cards, Matt, and most importantly, the return of Flying Penguin.
Yeah, we got the bird is the word, my man, going into the holiday season. That's for sure. And nice seeing Myla Grace getting a main event. We always sing her praises on this show, and obviously the one match we're going to review, we'll sing her praises as well, because she's absolutely fantastic and one of the most improved wrestlers I've seen in all the wrestling, this past year. So nice seeing her get that main event slot, well earned for one Myla Grace.
Final thing before we go into the show that we're going to be looking at, we have got an update in terms of statistics, which I'm going to do at the end of every single month. So obviously this will air on November the 30th. So a little bit of an update in terms of matches. So the most matches currently, the record is held by Miko Aono, who currently stands at 51 matches. Bozilla has the most wins with 31. And Komomo Minami unfortunately, has the most losses with 35. In terms of singles, most matches is Julia with 26, although that does include her gauntlet. Miko Aono and Bozilla both share the most victories in singles matches with 12. Most losses, Komomo Minami with 20. I won't go through everything because obviously I will put it up on Twitter and I will also put it up on the website as well. But I just wanted to go through a couple of attendance statistics. So overall, Marigold have run 49 shows. Total attendance of 23,923, which puts their average attendance at 509. Now, obviously, that is greatly boosted by the Summer Destiny number and those two big Korakuen Hall numbers. But 509, nothing to sniff at whatsoever. Highest attendance is still that 13th of July show in Sumo Hall, 3,058. The lowest attendance being from the 7th of November, just a few short weeks ago in Kanagawa, 175. Now, in terms of November and how it compares to the previous month, October, we've run 7 shows in November compared to 9 in October. The total attendances, so this is a little bit odd because currently Marigold haven't announced the attendances for their last 2 shows. So it is a little bit down. Total attendance is 1,785. It was over 3,000 in October. Average attendance, however, is slightly up, 357 compared to the 351 in October. Again, we are still waiting for those 2 attendance numbers from Utsunomiya and Tao Friend Hall. Highest attendance this month, 715 compared to the 866 in October. It is worth pointing out as well, there were 2 Korakuens in October as well. So again, stats say one thing, but you can make them say other things as well. And of course, the lowest attendance, 175 this month, compared to the lowest in October, which was 203. That will all go on to Twitter on the 30th of November, and it will go on the website as well. You can also check out a full breakdown of the stats and the attendance statistics on the website talkjoshi.com. Matt, anything you want to comment on in that before we go on to the show review?
I love the way you do numbers, my man. Like we always say, wrestling's subjective, but the numbers don't lie sometimes. But no, it's nice to see. So this way you know where things are trending. And obviously, me and you talk all the time about the numbers of this show, of ours. So see what's working, what's not, keep double down on that, maybe change this, change that. So it's really nice to whenever you give those attendance numbers, my man, so we can see how these 2 fantastic companies that we cover each week are doing, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Numbers don't lie, but they can be manipulated. So there you go. A little bit of what's it for you. Anyway, let's move on then to the Winter Wonderful Fight 2024 Night 2 show from the Utsunomiya Bunker Kaiken in Tochigi, Saturday the 23rd of November 2024. The exact attendance isn't known for the show. It's not been announced. It's the first time, though, that Marigold have run the venue and run Tochigi as a prefecture as well. The venue itself seats around 500 in the small hall and 2,000 in the great hall. This was in the small hall, though, and was opened back in 1979, but doesn't appear to be a regular venue for wrestling at all. But a little bit of fun trivia. It has housed concerts from Whitesnake and the Police. So there you go. A little bit of knowledge for you. It did look relatively full, though. Obviously, of those 500 seats, a section had to be taken out for the ring. Especially on the floor, looked relatively full. There were a couple of seats in the upper sections that seemed empty, but I would be surprised if it's lower than 230. It looked like a decent enough number that Marigold managed to pull into this show. The results for this show then are as follows. In the opening 3-way match, Komomo Minami got the victory, defeating Ria Sato and Misa Matsui, pinning Ria Sato with her roll-up variation that is called the Como roll. Love that. 6 minutes and 55 seconds. In a singles match, Nao Ishikawa defeated Minami Yuki with a German suplex in 8 minutes and 6 seconds. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's like London buses. You wait God knows how long for a win, and then two come along at once. In a tag team match, Hummingbird and Natsumi Shozuki defeated Naho Yamada and Miko Aono. Natsumi Shozuki pinning Naho Yamada with a crucifix pin in 9 minutes and 8 seconds. Semi-main event sees the 6-woman tag team match. Bozilla, Chiaki, and Nagisa Nozaki, tentatively called the Dark Wolf Army, although Bozilla doesn't seem overly pleased about that, defeated Mirai, Mai Sakurai, and Myla Grace, with Chiaki pinning Myla with her modified Argentine Buster that I believe is called the Moonwolf in 15 minutes and 50 seconds. And then in your main event, new best friends Utami Hayashishita and Koki Amare, they defeated Zeline Flora, Victoria Yuzuki, and Kazuna Tanaka. Koki Amare pinning Kazuna Tanaka with the Amethyst Butterfly in 15 minutes and 46 seconds. Matt, a decent show, a solid show, especially those last 3 matches. Really enjoyed the team of Hummingbird and Natsumi Shozuki. Obviously, the chance to see Natsumi Shozuki and Miko Aono makes it up again. Never going to say no to that. I thought that 6-woman was really, really good. I thought that Mirai played the babyface in peril very well. They built Mai Sakurai very well as well. And then in that main event, it turns out, Matt, that the longest feud in Marigold currently is Victoria Yuzuki versus her little tiara, because I don't remember a time that she has come out and it hasn't either fallen off or broken. So, yeah, I imagine that will probably be a match at First Dream as well. But what did you think of the show overall before we delve into the matches?
I thought it was really good, especially that main event. It was when we've been watching a lot of great Joshi tag wrestling, obviously this entire year, especially the last few months, because we're getting towards the tail end of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, and the main event was like just one of the best tag matches that Marigold has put on. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic, and again, it's great seeing the young talent, the young team of Yuzuki and Tanaka really rising up the ranks, because I think that's the tag team to go. That's the tag team for Marigold to hang their hat on over the next year, 2 years, 3 years. Obviously, singles championships are going to be all over the place for Yuzuki and Tanaka in the next handful of years. But I think right now, considering the fact that they've only been teaming for a few months and they've only been wrestling, obviously Yuzuki a little over a year, Tanaka's not too far behind. They mesh really well together and are one of my favorite tag teams in all of Japan. So, yeah, really great main event, great last 3 matches. I say it all the time. I got to say it again. If you want to start your match out with a hot opener, and I'm not a big fan of 3-ways, but this was a great 3-way with Ryo Saito, Kamomo Manami, and Misa Matsui. Again, considering the fact that Ryo Saito and Kamomo Manami are relatively rookies, Misa Matsui does a great job, like as the glue that holds this match together.
Absolutely.
Just with some great submissions and some great strike exchange with Kamomo Manami and Ryo Saito. 7 minutes, everybody told their story. They got in what they needed to get in, and eventually, though, it's Kamomo Manami getting the pinfall with what was effectively a banana split roll up on Ryo Saito. I thought it was a terrific match. I had it 3.5 stars, and again, a great way to start off your show because it really got the crowd pumped up for the rest of the show. So yeah, excellent stuff there from Misa, Kamomo, and Ryo Saito.
Yeah, was going to echo your sentiments exactly. Misa Matsui is tremendous. She really, really is. Like, properly underrated. Holds this match together really, really well. Credit to Kamomo Minami, by the way, who, within the first couple of seconds, whiffs a kick absolutely dreadfully. It was an absolutely, missed by a good 1.5 miles. However, the reason I bring that up is not to mock her for that kick. It's to say she put it behind her and actually wrestled, apart from that, a really, really, really good match. Especially doing that early in a match, you can forgive her, especially if she's still early in her career, to sort of for going to pieces almost. But not only did she not do that, I felt like she again showcased that growth that we've been waxing lyrical about over the last couple of episodes. So credit to her. But yeah, Misa Matsui, MVP of that match. It is worth pointing out now that each of the winning competitors was awarded a voucher that apparently entitles the winner to all you can eat and all you can drink. Something that greatly excited both Naoya Ishikawa and Bozilla in particular. So, yes, congratulations to the winners of the show here. Now Ishikawa versus Minami Yuki. So I actually thought this was a really solid match. And I have been the first person to say that Minami Yuki, her development is perhaps a bit slower compared to Kimomo Minami. And the one sort of facet that was sort of glaringly obvious from an outsider point of view was her strikes, where I thought her strikes were very weak. Here, I feel like there was a very pointed forearm exchange between her and Naoya Ishikawa, where Minami Yuki showcased far stronger strikes, far stronger. So it does look like they are working on that with her, which is great because it added to the match. Also, her hammerlock guillotine choke is so good. And she gets into it really, really well. I thought this actually might be Minami Yuki's best outing. I think she looked really good here. I feel like she wasn't necessarily being led as much as I've seen in other matches. It was a good back and forth. I mean, Naoya Ishikawa was always going to win this. But ultimately, I think both women did a tremendous job. Naoya Ishikawa feels like a huge, huge baby face. Feels like one of the most over people on the entire roster. But I was really impressed with Minami Yuki here.
Yeah, she was great. And you mentioned the forearms. She definitely had to bring those forearms in because now Ishikawa is a killer. When it comes to those forearms, she brings it. So if she was going to, part of my language, half-ass those forearms, now Ishikawa was going to eat her up. And she knew. And I'm sure that when they were putting the match together, now it's probably like, you better throw those forearms because I'm throwing them. So, I mean, that was trial by fire. And she did great. And I was literally, the one thing I have highlighted in my notes from this match is the way Minami Yuki gets in and works that hammerlock guillotine choke. It's perfect. It's a shoot style move. And now Ishikawa in this match really, really sells it like she's in danger. And I figured as soon as the match started, I'm like, this is going to be a win for now Ishikawa. And I thought, they're going to go the other way with this because of the way that now sold the danger. And again, great job on now in the selling. Ultimately, it's the Everest style German suplex that does in one Minami Yuki. Now Ishikawa looked terrific here. And it's nice to see her progression after she got that first win a few weeks ago. I had 3.25 stars, partner.
Yeah, I had it 3 stars. I thought it was a really, really solid outing. Again, especially for Minami Yuki, who, again, she's not on every card, and I feel like she must be working hard behind the scenes. It's good to see that hard work paying off in the ring. Tag team match then, Hummingbird and Natsumi Shozuki and Naho Yamada and Miko Ano. And I was immediately disgruntled to see that we weren't going to have Naho Yamada singing her entrance theme because she came out to Miko Ano's music, which I was extremely disappointed in. However, fair play to Hummingbird for wrestling this entire match in her tearaway trousers, because they at points were very clearly coming apart and she didn't miss a beat. I thought that was really, really good. But yes, I enjoy the team of Hummingbird and Natsumi Shozuki. I am always going to enjoy seeing Natsumi Shozuki and Miko Ano attack each other with kicks and really, really go for one another. And there's a real savagery in the way that Natsumi Shozuki goes after Miko Ano, especially early on. And that high-angled lion tamer, good God. Like the torque on the small of Miko Ano's back was unbelievable. Another really, really, really good match. I thoroughly enjoyed. I thought Naho Yamada had a really, really, really gave a really good account of herself. In her exchanges with Hummingbird. Overall, a really, really good middle of the card match, man.
Rob, do you think Naho Yamada should have sang Miko Ano's theme to the ring? Do you think that was a missed opportunity?
How much have they missed that opportunity? That would have been incredible.
Right? Because I was like, I thought maybe they would have done separate entrances. Like, it makes sense. Miko Ano is your theme awesome. She's your white belt champion in a kayfabe world. She's the second best wrestler on this roster because of the championship that she holds. So it's like, that makes sense. And then, like, when they're getting the ring, I'm like, why did they have Naho just sing Miko Ano's theme into the ring? Again, that would have been me. But Marigold, if you're listening, come on, you can do it. You can do it.
That should be her gimmick. Just sings whatever tag team partner she's got, just sings their theme.
Bozilla is just like that roaring. She just roars into the microphone like she's a death metal singer from the early 2000s. That would be great. In all seriousness, and I am serious, I would love to see Naho Yamada start singing themes into the ring. That's a great idea.
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. But yeah, this was a great match. Obviously, when the match starts, what the main crux of this match is going to be: Miko Ano and Natsume Shozuki on the opposite end of the ring. But you're absolutely right. Hummingbird was terrific, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago. I'm going to mention again. She fits in so perfect on this roster, teaming with Natsume. It's a great makeshift tag team, and then working Naho Yamada and Miko Ano. Obviously, Miko Ano and Natsume Shozuki, they're the stars in this match because they're two of your big champions. Hummingbird, she's great. Naho Yamada was really impressive here. Really impressive. Everybody did their job. This was a terrific match. Great back and forth 50-50 style match. Eventually, that sees Natsume Shozuki get another win, building herself up for that big challenge that she has with Yuzuki coming up on the 3rd of January. Terrific match. Solid outing. I guess my only little complaint is this one went about 9 minutes. I wish we had 3 or 4 minutes longer because these 4 ladies absolutely crushed it. Terrific match, though, partner. 3 3/4 stars for me.
Yeah, I gave it 3.5. Really good. What did make me laugh was the post-match where Hummingbird was suggesting bird-based names for Natsume Shozuki. I was just trying to find them, but unfortunately I can't. Yeah, it was something like Natsume Bird and Humming Natsume or something. Natsume Shozuki just completely no-sold. It was like, no, they're terrible. So yes, Hummingbird is vying for a tag team with Natsume Shozuki. Natsume Shozuki holding out quite staunchly there. 6-woman tag then, the Dark Wolf Army, or the unofficial Dark Wolf Army at least, Bozilla Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki, Mirai, Mai Sakurai, Myla Grace, came out from the back of the venue on the raised bit. Big fan of that. Thought that looked really cool. Myla Grace got a really good reaction as well from the crowd, which I thought was really nice. This was clearly a vehicle for the post-match angle, which I'm fine with. I'm absolutely fine with. And I like the chemistry between the heel team because you've got Bozilla and Nagisa Nozaki, who are quite clearly the powerhouses of the team, are going to dominate, are going to brawl, are going to do things to make sure that they're on top. Whereas Chiaki almost plays the Saki Kashima role when she was in a Wedatai of being a little bit more sneaky, but also being the one that takes the heat for that team. And that was when, especially Mai Sakurai, was able to get her team back into the match, was when Chiaki was in the ring. Overall, I thought the chemistry was really good. I thought Mirai, despite being a powerhouse and throwing some of the nastiest lariats in the history of Marigold, the short history of Marigold, but I thought she does a really good job as a babyface in peril here, Matt.
Yeah, you made mention that not only was it this match, but the main event where the wrestlers came out like through the upper entranceway. And I'm going to get to that when we talk about Koki Amri, because there was something I noticed with her that I was like, ooh, she might have, we'll get into it in a moment. But yeah, you're right. It really seems like the next tag challengers and possibly champions are going to be Nagisa and Chiaki, because it's really seemed like this what this match was for. It really seemed like we got shades of that there. Myla Grace was great here. She had great chemistry, especially towards the end with her and Chiaki. I thought there was really, really good stuff there. And again, she's ever improving. There's this one spot in the match, and the camera just caught a little bit because there was a wild brawl. So there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a part in the match where Myla Grace walks up to Bozilla and slaps her right in the face. And Bozilla, no sells it, and she, hulks up. And I'm like, oh, Myla Grace is going to run because why wouldn't you? And then Myla Grace gets in her face, and the referee has to break it up. And I'm like, ooh. We're putting a little fire in one Myla Grace, and I like that. I like that because now we're adding layers onto Myla Grace, and again, we sing her praises all the time. She was great here. Again, a lot of this match was just to kind of showcase a little bit what more than likely is going to be your next tag team championship match. But at the same time, Bozilla does what she does best here. She dominates. She just creates heat. But Myla Grace, to me, again, even though this match was really all about Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki building up to Mirai and Mai Sakurai, Myla Grace, I think, was like the MVP of this match. She really takes advantage of every second that she gets, not only in the ring, but curtain to curtain. And you have to do nothing but just applaud that. But ultimately, it is the Dark Wolf Army, the DWA, I guess that's what we'll call them, getting the victory with some offbeat shenanigans here. We did see the Chiaki bringing back the Iron Claw slam onto the chair. I thought that was going to be the finish, but Myla's able to kick out, or I think Mirai breaks it up, and then Mirai throws the thunderous lariats, but eventually the heels just are a little too heely, and wind up getting the win. A really great match to set up ultimately what is a fantastic main event on this show. I had this match at 3 3/4 stars.
Dark Wolves are back causing mass destruction. Ding, ding, ding. If that's not their entrance theme, I'll be so annoyed.
And then who should join?
Buff Bagwell.
Well, of course, but I agree. I'm not gonna disagree. Naho Yamada, so she can sing.
There you go. That's what it is. Oh, imagine. Shirts would be flying off the shelves. CDs, record deal. Incredible.
Cassettes. Bring back cassettes.
Absolutely. And they'll sell. Main event then, Utami and Koki Amare against Celine Flora. Victoria Yuzuki has now been wrestling a year. 17th of November, she debuted against Momo Watanabe. And her exchanges with Utami, especially at the very start of this match, showcase just what an absolute talent she is. I know that, it's boring, it's repetitive, how much we put over Victoria Yuzuki, but that's because she is that talented. She is the future of that company. And whilst Utami is certainly the present and is the future to a certain extent, only 25 years old, Victoria Yuzuki is someone who I imagine that Marigold are going to be pinning their hopes on for later on to be that. I don't want to keep comparing her to Mayu because I know that's sort of the comparison that's made a lot, the icon. But to be that person, that baby face, that person that is delivering that amazing match at the top of the card. The thing that Utami is doing now, whenever Utami's in a main event, it's going to be something special in Marigold. And Mirai has that to a certain extent as well. But Victoria Yuzuki, at 20 years old, in fact, I don't think she's 20 yet. She's still only 19, has got that aura in spades. We just need to get her a tiara that fits. Please, Marigold, just with some of that Korakuen Hall season ticket money, either get her one that attaches to her face so it can't fall off, or get her an unbreakable one. Goodness gracious me.
Well, Rob, you mentioned that she's kind of the future icon. You don't want to make those Mayu references. 13 5-star Grand Prix winners, only one crown fell off, and who was it? Mayu.
Oh, Mayu.
Mayu. So there you go. So there's another, or you can, so the crown thing could be the gimmick, or Sakurai's not doing the hat gimmick anymore. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. I'm
so annoyed at the fact that that's not a thing anymore. I love my Sakurai, but the fact that my Sakurai has dropped the hat from a gimmick, it was almost a deal breaker for me. Between that and the Goodwin elbow drop, I was like, I don't know if I can support this company anymore.
But here you are. Good.
Exactly. Sir. Here I am. Yeah.
I made mention about 2 minutes ago that these last two matches, everybody came through the crowd, and that makes it exciting. It's an exciting thing when the wrestler comes through the crowd. All these wrestlers that came through the crowd, and go back and watch it. They were most excited for Koki Amare. You can just, and she came out down with Utami, right? Utami with the rose and the whole nine, and Utami's big star. We know that. But it's like when Koki Amare came out, you would just see more people were standing, more people were excited. And you can see if the people in this row were excited, that was getting this one. It's almost like, it's almost like the wave. You see a wave at a sporting event where a few people started. Once you get enough people going, it spreads like wildfire. And that's almost what happened with Koki Amare here. And I was like, ooh, it wasn't anything really major, but I was like, she's just about there. And we know these Marigold shows going in 2025, they're going to start drawing bigger attendance because now we're going to start establishing other stars that are not Utami. And rightfully so, because you need other people to hang your head on. And it's like, we mentioned that Koki Amare is right around there. And it was just something small that I noticed that people got really excited when Koki Amare were coming out that left side of the entranceway, where it was just like, look, and they're taking pictures and people were standing. There's more. And again, there was more excitement in people's faces. Eventually that's going to spread into more. So I think it's at a time where it's like, she could be their first really homegrown star. Like obviously you have Utami and Mirai and Nane. They were stars before the company was ever created. Koki Amare could really, really be their first big homegrown star in the next year or two. And it was just something small I noticed just off this entrance. And then the bell rings and you get this phenomenal match. I gave this 4.5 stars, partner. I thought it was that good. I think Tanaka and Yuzuki they're so good. They're so fun to watch. And again, they only started teaming. I think the first time they teamed together was at Summer Destiny. So less than 6 months, and these two are absolutely crushing it. I think Tanaka came out with a back brace on and like wrestled half the match in like a back brace. She had something on. It looked, I don't know, and maybe that was just me, but it looked like that she had a back brace on. And again, I could be wrong, but
I
I
just
think
thought it
that
was tape.
I know she took it off because when she did her big dive, I was really worried for her because I thought it was she had a back brace on because it went all around. Anywho, another story for another day. She wrestled absolutely fantastic. Yuzuki was terrific. Again, Utami does what Utami does, and she makes everybody in the match look better than they already do. Not only Tanaka, not only Yuzuki, but she made sure Koki Amare got in what she needed to get in to make look like she is a big, big star upcoming, and she really is. Everybody in this match, especially with Tanaka and Yuzuki, because they're so young and so young in their career, they're going to be big, big stars in this company in the next year or two. And Koki Amare is right there. I would not be shocked if Koki Amare wins the Dream Star next year. I would not be shocked if it's Koki Amare ending the reign of Utami Hayashishita, whether it's in 2025 or 2026, because I think we all predict Utami to have a very long run, maybe a year plus run with that belt, and rightfully so, because that's the person you're going to you're going to put the cart in front of. That's the person you want pulling the cart is Utami. But Koki Amare is right there. And the fact that she is, a champion, I know it's the Pro Wrestling Noah Championship, but obviously she can defend at Noah, and she's going to be defending in Marigold as well. So she's going to be walking in between two companies, very much like we see time to time with Mayu with the IWGP. But there was no misstep in this match whatsoever. It was great psychology. It was a great roller coaster of a ride. The crowd was into everything. They popped where they needed to pop. The lull was right where it needed to be. Yuzuki and Tanaka's comeback was great. Tanaka did a beautiful dive towards the end of the match. Again, I thought maybe there was something wrong with her back, but she does this beautiful dive, and they made sure that she's protected real well. Ultimately, just goes to a really fast finish with Tanaka and Koki Amare, with Yuzuki and Utami basically kind of not isolating each other, but towards the end, Utami hits this wicked lariat onto Yuzuki that I think even Mirai was like, damn, kid. That was something. But that ultimately what takes out Yuzuki. And then it's Koki Amare putting the finishing touches on what was a damn near flawless match onto Kazuna Tanaka with the Amethyst Butterfly Splash. A little over 15 minutes, perfect time. Great, great match to end this show. Again, 4.5 stars. This is one of the best tag matches Marigold's put on in their short history. I thought this was great.
Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. Thought it was really, really good. And again, we're waxing lyrical about Koki Amare. I absolutely think you're right. I think is in terms of a Dream Star winner, Koki Amare fits that mold to a T. And I do agree that next year could be the time for her. Do I think that she is ready in less than a year, from now? Do I think that she's ready to have that red belt? It's an interesting thought. Obviously, 6-8 months is a long time to see how you can progress. I mean, we've seen the progress, for example, in Mai Sakurai, who was a lower card comedy character in Stardom, and now, especially in the last 4 months, has progressed to a top attraction in Marigold. So we've seen it happen. To lead the company, though, and to dethrone Utami Hayashishita to do it, that is a huge vote of confidence from Rossi, especially when you have got someone like a Mirai on the card who won't have held that red belt yet. However, I do feel Mirai's stories with the United National title, at least to begin with.
Here's something to
It's
think
an
about too,
interesting
partner.
one.
Here's something to think about too with Utami and Rossi. Mayu was on that phenomenal run in 2020. Nobody thought that she would pass the baton.
That's true, yeah.
We knew Utami was a main eventer, but it's like, it's Mayu, right? It's Mayu. And we're like, ooh, and that worked out really well. Utami is now in the position that Mayu was in, and Koki Amare is almost in the position that Utami was in back 4 or 5 years ago. So it's like history repeats itself, and that worked itself out really well for Rossi 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, it's kind of right there. The similarities are pretty much right there. They really, really are. So, hey, if it worked once, why won't it work twice?
True. And I imagine that Utami Hayashishita will not only hold this belt once. but yeah, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one, and one that I'm eager to see progress, because Rossi has been very, very clear in that he doesn't solely want to push the Stardom talent. Hence why Mikuano won the white belt, Sari won the red belt. It will be interesting to see where he goes in terms of Utami's reign, and if it is Kouki winning it in 2025, the Dream Star, going to first stream then, if that's still what it's called, in January. Does she lose there and then come back later on, or does she win it there? It's an interesting thing to sort of fantasy book ahead, because I'm really intrigued to see what Koki Amare has developed into by the time we get to next year's Dream Star, because even in this year's Dream Star, I felt like she progressed. So that's a really exciting thing to see. Big thing coming out of this show then was obviously following the semi-main event, where Nagisa Nozaki and Chiaki made their official challenge for the Twin Star Championships against Mirai Saku, and have put forth the date December 13th at Shinjuku Face. So that card now has got the World Championship match between Sari and Nanae Takahashi, the Twin Star titles between Mirai Saku and Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki, and Chika Goto's return from injury. It's looking like a really good card. But Matt, do the Dark Wolf Army dethrone Mirai Saku?
I say yes, just because they're stacking that card up for the third.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And you may as well put a tag team championship match there. Why not do it there? And then you're going to want to have those belts defended at first stream. So I'm going to say you're going to agree with me and saying that there's going to be a title change. Now I'm going to give you a question, sir. If that does happen, the Dark Wolf Army does take the tag belts.
I know what you're going to say.
Who are the challengers?
At first stream.
First stream. Who do you think those challengers would be?
I mean, my head automatically goes to the Passion Sisters.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because whatever residual sort of hatred almost that was going on between them, the tough love from Nanae, it resulted in now getting that win. She's now got a hatful of wins. She also wins a 3-way on the show we're going to cover next week. So Nanae is going to be doing nothing. Now is going to be doing nothing. I'm not necessarily saying they win the belts. I think it would be good if they did, because of Now's underdog baby face, that push that she's getting and that incredible crowd reaction she's getting. But in terms of actual teams that are left, there aren't many teams, because it's not going to be Miki Arno, because she's in the white belt picture. It's not going to be Natsumi Shiozuki. She is in the Superfly picture. It can't be Celine Flora because of Victoria Yuzuki. Can't be Utami and Kouki, because they're both in title matches. It can't be Chika Goto, because Koki Amare is with is wrestling against Kouki. So it's, in terms of actual teams, there's only really Passion Sisters that I can think of. Now, if you want a proper rogue choice that I don't think they do, simply because I don't think she's quite ready yet, Misa Matsui and Naho Yamada.
Ooh. You know what my pick is, Rob? And it's left field. What about the
More
bird?
left field than Naho Yamada?
Yeah. You ready? What about the bird is the word?
Hummingbird and flying penguin.
What do you think I was going to say? Because you stood up. You gave me the eyes. You gave me like Superman eyes, like you're going to laser beam me. What do you think I was going to say? Now I need to know. What do you think we're going to say?
I don't know. I was like, if he says Hot Frosty, I swear to God.
You let that go already? My goodness. All he talks about.
Sorry. Yeah, it is. It is all me, that.
The bird is the word.
It would not surprise me if it's Passion Sisters against Dark Wolf Army, because again, you're absolutely right. They want to start that card. Nanae. I'll be interested to see how long it is before Nanae retires now, because another injury. I don't know, because she's already hinted at retirement following the Dream Star. She was supposed to be taking more and more time off. I'm wondering how long it'll be. I'd be interested to see if she sees out this next year, 2025. But But anyway, that's by the by. But I think a mini run for the Passion Sisters with the Twin Star Championships, I think would be great. Yeah, and then obviously Mirai, that leaves her. I think, again, I think it's on our Discord. It was sort of being touted that Seri Yamaoka versus Mirai. I think that'd be a really good way of opening the show, to be honest. Especially because Mirai's theme is an absolute banger. And who's left then? Misamatsui, Naho Yamada, Bozilla, Myla Grace,
Coco, Minami.
Komomo Minami, Minami
Minami.
Yuki, Ria Sato. Such a shame we haven't got more to do with Misa Matsui. She's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we do get a tag team championship tile defense for Misa Matsui at some point, I'd love that. But anyway, that is all speculation. We don't know whether any of that is going to happen because Mirai and Mai Sakurai might retain. And in which case, none of what we've just said matters. But yes, anyway, in terms of the schedule for Marigold moving forward, we have sort of already talked about it, but we did have the show from Friend Hall in Tokyo. That happened on the 28th. We'll talk about that next week. Saturday, the 7th of December, Osaka 176 box. Sunday, the 8th, is going to be Taharu City General Gymnasium. We've then got the show from Shinjuku Face, Friday, the 13th of December, that is going to be live. So that's going to be really, really good. I'll be interested to see if that does have English commentary. I don't think it will. I think it will have Japanese, though, with us having a title match. I'd be very surprised if we don't have any. Well, we had it randomly in Nagoya, didn't we? So I'm wondering if, with it having a World Championship match on it, I'm wondering if we do have Japanese commentary for that. And obviously, we've then got dates that run all the way through to the 3rd of January for First Stream, not forgetting that we have a Boxing Day show in Korakuen. That's another good point. Like, there is another opportunity for Mirai Saku to drop those Twin Star Championships, because at the moment, there's 3 title matches, 4 if you count the GHC Women's Championship, announced for First Stream. I'll put in inverted commas. They haven't had a match graphic yet, but they're locked in pretty much. Which means, what are we getting at Korakuen Hall on Boxing Day?
Yeah. Good point.
So, yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued because I know that Korakuen Hall show does have English commentary. Anyway, interesting to think on. And I'm sure, obviously, as we get close to the time, we'll have more of an idea. Now, Matt, obviously, we have done our one show review because that's all we had. And it looks like next week is going to be exactly the same because the 7th and the 8th obviously won't have happened by next week. So another equally short Marigold Standard, but no Marigold Standard is complete without a gaze at Julia, Matt.
Gaze at Julia. We go to NXT just this past week as Julia is in an Iron Survivor qualifier match against Kalani Jordan. Now, I've only seen a little bit of Kalani Jordan, and what I've seen, I've been impressed with. But this match she has with Julia, to the shock of nobody, was outstanding. They open the match with some great technical wrestling that sees Julia targeting the arm of Jordan. It looks like she's trying to get the Bianca in. She comes ever so close to getting the Bianca in, but Kalani is able to get out. Kalani gets the advantage. She goes for her finish early on in the match, which is the split-legged moonsault. Julia is able to block the split-legged moonsault. They wind up having a little bit of a brawl outside. Kalani gets the better of that advantage. Kalani hits a picture-perfect slingshot twister plancha to the floor. She's extremely athletic. So there's really good stuff there. Then Kalani Jordan plays not the smartest game, Rob. She gets into a slap exchange with the beautiful madness of Julia. And you can imagine how that goes a little bit wrong. We get some 2 counts back and forth with some roll-ups, some really cool stuff there. Eventually, Kalani Jordan gets the advantage back again. She goes for the second time for the split-legged moonsault, but Julia counters that catches her on the way down into the triangle choke. That was really cool. We've seen Julia do that with Mayu on the moonsault countering the triangle choke. We've seen Julia do that before. Really good stuff there. Looked like Kalani Jordan was about to pass from the triangle choke, but however, Kalani powers up. She hits the Rampage Jackson bomb out of the triangle choke. That scores her a 2 count. Really good stuff there. We get a forearm trade off between the two. Eventually, Julia gets the better of that advantage because, again, not unless you're King Kong. You do not want to be striking with Julia, Rob. That's for darn sure. Julia is able to hit the Glorious Driver, a G trigger, and the Northern Lights bomb for the 3 count to get the win. Thus, she will qualify into the Iron Survival match for the #1 contendership for Roxanne Perez's championship coming up next Saturday, my friend. So ultimately, a really solid match. I gave that one a solid 4 stars, as obviously we know everything that Julie can do. Kalani Jordan, for the little bit that I've seen, very, very impressive and a really, really good match to send Julia on the way to the pay-per-view or premium live event, whatever you want to call it, coming up next Saturday, because this Saturday is Survivor Series. So with War Games. So yeah, so which is tomorrow actually. So yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah, I've seen one match, I think, of Kalani Jordan. I believe she was the NXT United States Women Champion before. Who was it? Is it Fallon Henley that took it off her? Yeah, she had a great match with Sol Rucker, I think at NXT Battleground. So, yeah, she is really, really athletic. I think she's got a gymnastics background, and that probably does not surprise you. But yes, anyway, at 1 hour and 20 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, I did say it was going to be a short one. We are at the end of this week's Marigold Standard. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review and a comment if you think that we have earned it. It really does help us accelerate up those podcast charts and helps us spread the word of Joshi to even more people. Check out the website as well, talkjoshi.com, for all of our archive podcast episodes, all of our history and stats to do with Stardom and to do with Marigold as well. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast for all things on there. We've got a whole host of bonus content, including episodes like this, early and ad-free, for as little as $1 a month. You can find us on social media at either Talk Joshi or Marigold Podcast on Twitter. You can talk to me on Twitter. It's at Real Rob Goodwin. Matt Turner, where can they find you? And signs off, good sir.
Absolutely, folks. Questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me. Matt Turner OF on the Instagram, the Twitter, and the Blue Sky as well. So anything that I can do for you, you let me know. If you want to shoot me an email, that's perfectly fine. The email address is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. And folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fun-filled episode of the Marigold Standard. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because when all together, everybody's different. Everybody's special.